We're going to go over the cards, so please watch your toes. Perfect. Once we put it down in the roller, you may release. And thank you so much, Michelle. You can go back. Thanks, guys.
All right, there's some chairs for everybody. Come right over here. Those are blankets and Kleenex. Are we expecting anybody else here? No. Good. Actually, the sunshine is not that chilly.
Are we being streamed? Do I look somewhere?
Yeah, let me do a quick introduction. How about? We are going to begin the funeral service for Mrs. Carole Wexler. If you have a cell phone or a pager, these days, anybody a pager, if you could place it into silent mode or turn it completely off at this time. I'd like to welcome anybody via live stream as well. Thank you for attending. Services will be conducted by Rabbi Barry Schechter.
Mismole David, Adonai, mi yagu biolecha, mi yishkon behare kodshecha, olech tamim, ofoel tzedek, v'dover emet bilvavo, lo regal leshono, lo asal re'ura, v'cherepa lo nasal krovo, nirze beinav nimas, v'et yirei Adonai yechabed, nishma lo ara v'lo yamir, kaspo lo natan b'neshech, v'shochad anaki lo lakach, asele lo yemot le'olam. God, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain, those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who give their word and come what may do not retract, those who live in this way shall never be shaken. Dear friends, we're here for a sad and difficult occasion to say goodbye, but also to pay tribute, to honor the memory, and even if possible to celebrate the life of Carole Wexler, the daughter of Bella and Israel, who's gone to her eternal rest. She passed away on her 95th birthday. And of course, you are here now. There are others who are watching. First, I should mention her late husband, your father, grandfather, Dr. Morris Wexler, who passed away a long time ago, much too long ago. But we have the children, two here. One is watching. The first is Neil Wexler, and then Linda, who's out there. Hello, Linda. And her Kurt. I hope you're feeling better, both of you. And Susie, and her Ron, and the grandchildren. I don't know which one is here. Alison, Matthew, and Samantha. You're here. And then we talked about, you told me about Carole, and I spoke to you, Linda, as well about her. She was a very talented person. She was an artist, she was not just interested in art, but she created art. She designed. She made jewelry. She made beautiful things. She grew up on the west side of Chicago, which at the time was about as densely populated a Jewish area as, I won't say as any in the world, but it was among the top. The west side was thick with Jewish people, with Judaism of all kinds, with the Jewish Daily Forward, which was the Yiddish newspaper, with the yeshiva, which was very orthodox, with the JPI, the Jewish People's Institute, which had dances, I believe it was either on Sunday or Saturday night. And people would meet there, actually, and people get married. That's one of the ways people got married. Sometimes when I have young people, very young people, at a funeral, I have to explain to them. I have to give them a warning, a trigger warning. I'm going to tell them something that may shock them so much that there was a time when there was no internet, and sometimes I'm glad I've given that warning in advance. But in those days, that's one of the ways people would meet. Now, she did go to Marshall High School, and later she went to the Chicago Academy of Art, which has had many artists and illustrators who've graduated, gone there. And I mentioned the dance. I don't know which dance it was, but she and Morris actually met at a dance. There used to be Yom Kippur dances. Did you know that? At the end of Yom Kippur. And people would meet that way. And he was here. He was from New York. He was not from here. But he went to, he was here. I think he went to optometry school here. And in fact, I believe Kurt went to the same school. Am I right? I think so. Well, they can't speak to us, but that's what I think he told me. They were exactly the same school. They married. Morris and, did you call him Morris? What was he called? Maury and Carole married in 1950 on December 17th. And first they lived at Gladys Avenue on the west side. His office actually was on Madison Street, quite close by. And then they moved to Rogers Park, to West Rogers Park, and all three children went to Mather High School, which could almost at the time have been called Mather Jewish High School, since non-Jews there were, well, if they thought of the term then, they might have said that they needed affirmative action for the non-Jewish people there, because the Jewish holidays, the major Jewish holidays, the school was, to all intents and purposes, closed. You were quite unfortunate if you showed up on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur at Mather High School. You told me that she was a stay-at-home mother. She looked after you. Her art, which was part of her life, was a hobby for her, but a very meaningful one. I asked you about her cooking, which I always do, and you said there was one thing you mentioned. You said that on Rosh Hashanah, and I won't say about Yom Kippur, you're not eating on Yom Kippur, but on the high holidays, Rosh Hashanah, she would make the most wonderful brisket. I always ask about food is actually very important. I sometimes have to ask people, they say, well, this is not important. I say, don't say anything's not important when it comes to remembering people. About the Madeleines, the memories we have of taste, of smell. We used a certain tablecloth in my home for Pesach, for Passover. I don't know what material it was made of. It had a certain smell. I always think of that on Passover. I'm talking about decades ago. So all these things are meaningful, all of them. I know you told me that the house was always wonderfully clean, that when you came home there was lunch for you. You were fortunate enough to go home from school for lunch. I think you said that she would play bridge. In those days, bridge playing was something people did. would play with Morris and his friends. He was the one who had the friends, and they became her friends as well. I told me she wasn't an enthusiastic traveller, but you would go every year to New York because Morris was from New York. You went to see the family who drive there. There was also another trip you mentioned to Colorado. You went to Colorado Springs. Now, Carole didn't drive. After he passed, she got a license, but I don't think she used it very much, or at all, did she? You said she used it as an ID, basically. It's interesting, isn't it? In order to exist in modern society, to make sure you have an identity card, you have to pretend to want to learn to drive. That's what she did. She used the bus. She went by bus. She'd use the L, and she walked a great deal. Now, you told me also we talked about culture. You said that she talked a great deal about ballet, which she found very beautiful. I don't think she had much opportunity to go, but you said that when she was younger, you told me that she was an usher, a theater usher, and you said she saw Albert Decker in Death of a Salesman in Chicago as an usher. And also there's a memory, she said that Bella, her mother, used to take her to concerts in Grant Park in the 1940s. So there's a lot of culture there. And you learned afterwards that Bella actually was interested in culture. And you knew her, but you didn't know it from her. You heard about it afterwards. I know that you would occasionally go to some of the museums. Chicago has these beautiful museums. And you said that there were art books at home for her, but also for you. Degas, the Impressionists. You said she liked Modigliani. And sometimes when she painted, it would be reminiscent of his style. She was, I use your word, willful, a wonderful word. There was a strength about her. There was a toughness. She had read The Fountainhead of Ayn Rand, who, as I told you, Ayn Rand is not one of my favorite people, but what she drew from that was the not really a political message, but a psychological one, that a person has to stand up for themselves, that even if even if you risk being criticized for selfishness, you must still stand up for yourself. That this is very, very important. You can't allow yourself to be bullied, or to take up a thought or a view which is contrary to your own just because other people are doing it, just because it's popular. But I think from what you told me, that's what she took from that. So the thing that I mentioned to you when we were talking, when Maury died, and it was really awful, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, which is rare and terrible. He was 49, and she was 48. She then moved to downtown Chicago, where she could walk, if she wanted to the Art Institute, or the Museum of Modern Art, or anywhere, because she walked. She would walk and walk and walk. She'd walk to the Loop. And she lived. So we have someone like this, a woman, it can happen to a man too, who loses what she thinks of as a life's partner. I think her youngest child at the time is 19. And I've known people like that, and it's been terrible. It's been terrible for them, because they were in some ways dependent, as we all are if you have a partner, on their partner, and something terrible has been torn away from them, and they find it very difficult to go on, and some of them don't go on, they don't last, or other things happen. And yet here, she is living a life for almost for another for another 47 years, which is quite extraordinary. It's quite remarkable. It's quite wonderful. There's one of the prayers that we have, there's a phrase in there which doesn't always apply, but it applies here. Kol Zaman Shehanashama Bekirbi, which means as long as Nanashama, and nashama means a soul, but the actual root meaning of the word is breath. Breath. As long as there's breath within me, which for some, someone's very sick, you can't say that. But here you have someone who lived. She actually lived. She wasn't just existing, people go on existing. She didn't exist. She lived. She did what she wanted. She was. Some of her works would appear in exhibitions, and she was able to do this. And when you told me about it, you remember I mentioned this to you. I said I'm in awe of that, because that is quite remarkable. To be able to do that. I would say that it would be a wonderful world, or be a better world, if all those who lost their partners relatively young were able to do this. There'd be much less sadness in the world, much less grief, much less suffering, because this is wonderful. I know that you Susie being the one in Chicago, it was you who looked. Everyone was concerned with her. Everyone came and visited. But in terms of actually being here and looking after her, she lived on her own for a long time, and she looked after herself. And you have memories. In fact, you told me, Susie, your friends have memories of her calling out, Susie. Susie! So you can still hear the voice going, and so can they. But you found the self-help home, which is indeed a wonderful place, and I've known that, and it's nice to hear it confirmed that it is, because the care that she was given there was absolutely wonderful. And you said that many friends have been with you on this last journey. Now, Linda, you told me that you had some difficult times with your mother, but you were reconciled, and she was very forgiving. It was wonderful to hear this. She was very forgiving, and you came together, and Linda, you loved her very much, and you developed a beautiful relationship over the years, and you were really grateful. I'm talking to you, Linda, now, to be able... Where do I look to see Linda? There it is. There's the camera. Linda, I'm sorry, I didn't know where it was. Yeah, you were able to spend valuable time with her at the end, you were grateful for that, which is such a wonderful thing. It really is a beautiful thing that you could do this. We talked before about this, because Linda, you told me that you all had a Jewish education. You went to Kin's congregation with Rabbi Meshalov was there, and you had your bar mitzvah, you had your bat mitzvah, and Linda, you had your bat mitzvah there. You went to Hebrew school there. Linda, you also told me about dogs. There was a dog called Lady. Yes, you can confirm. A dog called Lady. And later there was a dog called Hercules. And I don't. Do you have to? I know, Linda, you have a dog. I know, he's been accompanying you on this trip. I know very well about this. Maybe I don't know what's Linda's dog's name. I don't know. Harry. You may have even been driving. I don't know. No. But anyway, you got home safely, so he's a good driver. But do you have dogs? Yeah, but you have dogs now. You have granddogs. You have granddogs. That's marvelous. Do you have a dog? You don't? Okay. Will you come and visit here and visit the dogs here? Yeah. So So as I say, we have this Jewish lady who is artistic in the sense both of loving art and of creating art, making beautiful things, who, with her husband, sends her children to Hebrew school, have a bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, so that you know where you come from and what has to go on, because how important it is to be Jewish, especially at the moment I'm talking about now. This is what's going on now. And Linda, you also told me that, you know, the prayer we're supposed to say, we say it often, but it's supposed to be said especially before we die, before we pass away. And Linda, you actually you sang the Shema to her. You told me before she died, which is a wonderful thing. One always wishes that either one can say it oneself or someone will say it for one. And as I said, she lived a full life, a very full life, against all the odds, against the difficult things that life threw at her in the form of her husband's early passing, and managed to go on. I don't know if this helps. I said I was in awe of this, and I am. Sometimes one could be so in awe of something that can frighten one and think, well, I could never do that. But sometimes, if you hear of someone who can show great strength in the face of great difficulty, it can give one hope, not just for humanity, but for oneself. First of all, it puts certain things into perspective. You know, my finger's hurting, oh my God. Please. You know, we all do that, I do that. I'm especially inclined to that unusual illness which I have called hypochondria. And sometimes I have to remind myself, because I see what others have gone through and what others have triumphed over. And sometimes I think, well, I couldn't do that. And sometimes I think, well, wait a minute. She's a human being, I'm also a human being. I don't know if I could do that, but sometimes that can give one strength. And I think you should try, if you can, to draw strength from her story. Not to be intimidated by it, but to draw strength from it. Both reactions are possible. Try and draw strength from it, especially in difficult moments, you know. You were very fortunate to have her. And of her I say, Tehei nishmata tzrura bitzror hachayim, which means, may her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. And to her I say, Carole, lechi b'shalom, geh in Frieden, go in peace. Habelechtig Gan Eden, may your repose be in paradise. We don't know what happens afterwards. There's no way we can. Rabbis have written acres of print on this subject, but they were not speaking from personal experience because they were alive when they were writing this. I've been asked to speak, never by a Jewish organization, by Catholic organizations, about the Jewish view of what happens afterwards, life after death, the afterlife. And I've said to them, listen, if you talk about the Jewish view, one view, you know nothing about Jews, because they're not view, there are views, and they all argue with each other. They're Jewish, they're rabbis, they argue with each other. And Maimonides was so Jewish that he actually argued with himself, he contradicted himself. So we don't know. We don't know what happens afterwards. The older I get, I'm sure there's bias in this, the more I believe that there is something afterwards. With every passing year, I become more and more convinced of this. But there may be a sense, and we cannot know this, in which she is reunited with Murray. And as I say, we cannot know. But it's something I think we should, at least I would like to try to feel. So, as I said, May her memory be a blessing. Amen. But now we're going to read, if you will join me please, the 23rd Psalm. If you open your booklets on the top left, please read with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Could I ask you, if you can, to stand, please? And I'm going to try and... my hands are very, very cold. I didn't bring gloves. If you're wearing a ribbon, could you step forward? Those of you wearing the ribbons, I don't know if... Linda, maybe you can send Linda a ribbon. She could put it on. Yeah, could you do that? Yes. Because we're going to cut these... No, it's okay. No, it's too late. My hands are sort of... They're not there anymore. Let's see if I can... Okay, good. It's working, despite the cold. So what we're doing now, and Linda, you may not have the ribbon. No, stay with me, please. You may not have the ribbon. I'm going to say a blessing, a bracha, that we say now, and without cutting the ribbon. Linda, if you hear me, let me just go back here, because I wasn't using the microphone. Linda, if you can hear me, we're going to say a bracha, a blessing that we say when we suffer a loss of someone really close, like a parent, a sibling, a child. And so it begins the way every bracha begins, and then there are two words at the end that I'll tell you. So the two of you and Linda, you can join with this. So, Baruch, go ahead. Baruch Atah Ado Elo Melech Ha'olam. Yes. Dayan Ha'emet, which means blessed be the true judge. That's what we say when we suffer a loss. You can go back to your seats, but so remain standing. No, remain standing, please. You can go back. Remain standing, please. Hail Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hametzei V'nochanechona, Tachat Kanefei Ashina, V'mahalot Kedoshim Otarim, Kizohar Rekiam Masihirim, Et Nishmat Carole Bat Yisrael Ubella Shalach Leolama Ba'avur Shanach Nodin Mitztaka Bi'aras Karat Nishmato Bigan Eden Teimenuchata Lachein Bal Rachamim Yastireha B'sei Kanafav Le'olamim V'yitzror Rachim et Nishmata Adonai Unachalata V'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava V'nomar Amen. Passionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Carole Wexler, the daughter of Bella and Israel, who has entered eternity and in whose memory we offer charity. May her repose be in paradise. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Now, we're going to conclude the prayer part of the service with the Mourner's Kaddish, which is on the back page. Some of you may know this. If you can, please join. If not, you can respond, and one of the responses is very, very simple. When I or we say V'imru, You say Amen. So, Va'imru, Amen. Let's begin. Yitgadal ve'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Bi'alma divrach hirutei ve'yamlich malchutei b'chayei chon uv'yomei chon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'gala uv'izman kariv ve'imru, everyone, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ul almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha berich hu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, everyone, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. We're going to. Could you wait 1 second, please? Thank you. Yeah. We're going to have the casket lowered and the frame taken away, and it'll be covered, thank you, with a vault cover, and then if we wish, and I should have said this louder, I'm sorry, into the microphone. The casket will be lowered, covered, and then we'll be able to place earth on top. But before we do that, we have some special earth here. This earth comes from Israel, from the Har Hazeitim, the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. Jewish people traditionally wanted to be buried in Israel, which obviously is not always possible. So we bring earth here. So in a sense, she's going to be buried in Israeli earth, as Jews for thousands of years have wanted to do. Some have managed to, but most haven't. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to sprinkle this earth on top of her casket. This will take a few minutes. If you wish to sit down, it's perfectly okay. You don't have to stand. You can do whatever you like. There's a Friedman family here, but it's not yours. No. No. The gentlemen from the cemetery are done with their work now, so if you would like to put some earth on, just be careful, the ground is more uneven than it looks. And we have these two people can do it at the same time from different pails, different buckets. So if you'd like to come up, just please do. What they're going to do, the service and service. Yes. Yeah, where is yes.
No, it wasn't on the day. Right, we'll have to talk about
Okay, good. You can sit down.
Yeah, the way they did the whole over the
Okay.
Yes, if